Hey guys, it's me Isaac here, and today we're reacting to another video. So we're reacting to my dad put a camera in my room. And if you can't see, but like, if I move my face cam, that girl, she's terrified of that camera. So, but right now guys, we're gonna be, reacting to this. So, yeah, let's get on with this.
My name is Suzanne, and my dad is super strict. He doesn't let me wear short skirts or makeup, and if I'm home late by just a minute, I'm grounded for a month. There's no way he'd ever allow me to date anyone. So, when my cute classmate Larry asked me out, I knew I was going to have to see him in secret. When my parents left home for their usual Friday night date, Larry came over. I thought I was so smart arranging for him to be there while my parents were out. At first, everything was great. We were talking, laughing, not doing anything wrong. But about 10 minutes after Larry arrived, I heard the front door opening. I got really nervous in case it was a burglar. But then I heard my dad coming up the stairs. So I told Larry to hide in the closet. My dad started yelling, "Suzanne, Suzanne, do you have a boy with you? You better not." He came into my room and headed straight to the closet where Larry was hiding. To this day, I have no idea how my dad knew he was there. He sent Larry home, but I knew that wouldn't be the end of it. I wasn't supposed to have friends over when my parents weren't home, especially not a boy, so I knew I'd be punished. I thought I'd just be grounded, but that wasn't enough for my dad. He put a big video camera in my room and hooked it up to the internet so he could watch me anytime from his smartphone. It was so creepy. I could never relax in my own room. I was always stressed someone might hack into the camera to spy on me. But when I told my dad, he said I should worry about more important things, like being a well-behaved daughter. As if that wasn't bad enough, the next Monday, I got my report card. My grades were bad. Really bad. It was all C's and D's. I knew my dad would be angry, but this time, he didn't yell at me. He just said, "All right, I don't expect you to be good in every subject, but I want you to pick 2 subjects to focus on." I told him I liked English and history the most, so he said, "I want you to study just English and history for an hour every day. If you get a B plus or better in both subjects next year, I'll get rid of the camera in your room, and you can have a boyfriend." You can't imagine how happy I was. I ran to my dad and gave him a big hug. He was actually being reasonable, and being allowed to have a boyfriend was a huge motivation for me. For the next 6 months, I worked really hard on English and history. I wasn't allowed to miss a single day's study. So even if I was sick, I'd still sit at my desk for an hour and stare at a textbook so it looked like I was working. When it was time to get my grades, I was very nervous. I thought I'd done well because of how much work I'd done, but you never know. First, I got my history results, and I couldn't believe it. I got an A plus. However, when I got my English grade, I only got a B. I was devastated. I'd worked so hard, but it wasn't quite good enough. When I showed my dad my grades, he was very proud of my A plus in history, but he said that because I didn't get a B plus in English, I still wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend. However, he said he would remove the camera inside my room, so that was good. The funny thing is, I kind of miss the camera now. It gave me a sense of order. Since I'm not being watched anymore, I don't work as hard, and although I like the idea of being really good at something, it's hard to stay focused when I'd rather be texting my friends or watching YouTube. Well, thank you for listening to my story, and please subscribe to this channel.
So, this one always looks interesting to me, but I never watched it. I'm gonna watch it for the sake of my YouTube channel. I'm just kidding. For the sake of you guys, I'm gonna just watch this.
I'm Bono, and I want to tell you about my dad. He's always been reckless. He'd do things like jump red lights to try and beat the other cars, or sneak into another movie after the one we paid for finished. But one day, he took it too far. He worked as a painter, and while he was decorating a house, he stole a safe belonging to the woman he was working for. She wasn't rich or anything, just a single mom of two. Unfortunately for my dad, the police found camera footage of him leaving the building carrying the safe, so he was charged with the burglary. When he talked to his lawyer, he was told he'd go to prison for at least 2 years. The lawyer advised my dad to make a plea deal.
Ooh, 2 years prison. Wow. Well, I won't even survive one hour in prison.
So he wouldn't be in prison for too long. But my dad didn't want to spend even a day inside. Instead, he decided to fake an accident. He pretended to fall from a ladder and convinced everyone he was a quadriplegic with chronic coma-inducing seizures. I didn't think anyone would be stupid enough to believe this, but I was wrong. Someone from the court authorities came to our home to examine my dad. He was laying unmoving in bed with a mask on and his eyes closed, pretending to be in a coma. When the expert tried to open my dad's eyes to examine him, my mom slapped his hand away and snarled, "Don't touch my husband." The guy tried to explain he had to make a report, but Mom made a huge fuss. So eventually he left without properly examining my dad. Since my mom wouldn't let any medical experts near my dad, his trial kept being delayed. Meanwhile, Dad was just hanging out in our apartment, eating and watching TV, while Mom worked 2 jobs to feed us. You'd think it'd be easier for Dad to go to prison since he was stuck indoors all the time anyway. But sometimes he would put on a wig and sunglasses so he could go out to a bar. Then he'd come home drunk and shout at me and Mom. I felt terrible about what my dad did. The fact he stole from a single mother says everything you need to know about him. I thought about telling the police he was faking being in a coma, but he was still my dad, and I couldn't do it. Instead, I got a job at a supermarket. I didn't make much money, but I gave everything I had to the family my dad stole from. The woman was so grateful. She'd always start crying whenever I went round. She'd say God had sent me to help her because she couldn't feed her kids without me. It just made me feel worse about my dad. What a jerk. But then on the last day of school, I come home with my grades. They were pretty bad, and my dad went nuts, yelling at me that I'd never achieve anything in life. He was clearly drunk, but I was so fed up with covering for him, I told him if he didn't start to treat my mom better, I'd tell the police he was faking his coma. Dad seriously lost it. He started trashing the place, screaming at me that I was grounded until I changed my attitude. It was seriously scary. That night, Dad got really drunk and started yelling at my mom that everything was all her fault and he wouldn't have stolen the safe if she hadn't been pushing him to make more money. To be honest, I don't know why my mom hasn't divorced him already. He just makes her miserable. We'd be so much better off without him. That's why I secretly filmed him walking around and took it to the police, so they had proof he was faking his coma. What happened next was crazy. 3 policemen came with me back to our apartment to arrest my dad. When he realized what I'd done, he lost it. He screamed at me, "You're not my son anymore! I swear I'll get you for this!" I didn't hear anything else because the police took him out to their car. I don't feel good about reporting my dad, but I'd do it all again if I had to. I love him, but he only ever thinks about himself. I believe that if someone does something bad, they need to be punished so they don't do it again, even if it's your dad. Anyways, that was my story. Please let me know in the comments what you would have done in my situation. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the channel.
That is not all. We got one more. And that just shocked me. Getting drunk. What? Oh. Aye. Okay. This guy's gonna say aye.
I'm not proud of what I'm about to tell you, but in my defense, I was only 14 when it happened. Okay, my mom died when I was little, so it was just me and my dad.
Yes, you and Papa, right? Okay, this is so lousy. Wait, don't worry, guys.
You think that would make us really close, kind of us against the world, but I don't think he ever really wanted to be a parent. He always had something more important to do than spending time with me. Of course, I tried everything to get my dad's attention. One time I got into so much trouble that the police brought me home. I hoped my dad would get angry or show some sign of him being worried about me. But instead, he was just annoyed and told me I was an embarrassment. He also said I should sort myself out because I'd be an adult soon and would have to look after myself. I was so mad at him, but I tried one last thing to get his attention. I packed a bag with all the things I need to live on my own for a few days. Then I waited for a big storm, and when it hit, I went down to the beach with our canoe. Then I put a few empty pain pill bottles into the canoe and shoved it into the water. I let the canoe drift away to make it look like I'd fallen overboard. Then I checked into a cheap motel using a fake ID. I don't really know what I was expecting to happen next. I wasn't even sure if my dad would notice I'd gone. 2 days later, I put on a hoodie and sunglasses and went to buy some food. When I saw the local newspaper, I couldn't believe it. The headline said, 14-year-old missing in the ocean. Apparently, hundreds of people were searching for me. They'd even sent out the search and rescue helicopters. In that moment, I felt so ashamed. I never thought so many people would go looking for me. I just wanted my dad to show he cared. I didn't know what to do. So in the end, I just went to the police and told them what I'd done. They took me home to my dad, but he wasn't happy to see me. All he could do was go on about how much trouble I'd caused him. I was very disappointed, and the next day, I left him for good. I never went back and never called him again. It's hard living on your own when you're 14. I had to lie about my age to get low-paid jobs, and life was tough for many years, until I hit 18 and I joined the Navy. It was the best thing I ever did. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged, that I was surrounded by people who were family. I'm still close friends with most of the people who trained with me. Unfortunately, after a couple years, I broke my ankle badly and was discharged. Luckily, I discovered it wasn't too late to go to college. I found a cheap community college, which was all I could afford, and I graduated at 25. College changed my life. I met my wife Sissy there, and we have a daughter together. Being married with a kid isn't always easy, but I tell my wife and child I love them every single day. I know how painful it is to live without feeling loved, and there's no way my daughter is going to grow up thinking her dad doesn't care. My childhood was tough, but it doesn't define me. Just because my dad didn't love me doesn't mean that I can't love my daughter and my wife. Thanks for listening to my story, and please subscribe to this channel.
Okay, Okay guys, that is all for today. Please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bells. And don't forget. Oh wait, yeah, no, never mind. Just please subscribe and turn on notifications to like. Peace out.